Early Birds. The Falcons go to Mile High as they look to stay atop the NFC South.
Every day we come out, we give our best version of ourselves, and we'll be the very best version that we want to be. That's all it takes.
We'll break down the matchup and how they say no to a big game from Bo. Plus, it could be a playoff elimination game in Athens. We'll hear from the Dogs.
You're not going to play in football games and in life without losing sometimes. And it's a great lesson.
And Falcons rookies are serving smiles this holiday season. That and more ahead on Early Birds.
Grab a cup of your favorite Joe and let's talk Falcons football on Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Good morning and welcome into Early Birds. He's DJ, I'm Justin, and Shock Falcons fans get that familiar feeling this week, a chance to boo Sean Payton.
And whenever you get a chance to do that, you do it, because we remember the old days where he tried to ruin our lives too. So yeah, I'm all about booing Sean Payton.
Falcons right back at him this weekend in Denver. That's what they're thinking anyway. Let's get things started with the opening drive. It's Falcons and Broncos tomorrow, and Sean Payton, DJ's got himself a quarterback. People were wondering about Bo Nix, 12th overall, but looks like a pretty good move.
Yeah, and he's actually played pretty well throughout the season. He's had him in every ball game, completing 63% of his passes. And check this out, he's only thrown 2 interceptions in his last 8 games. That's weird to say from a rookie. And in those 8 games, he's thrown 10 touchdowns. So that's doing a really good job. And this part of his game, I think, is what's really sneaky. Ability to be able to run the football. He's the second leading rusher on the team with about 290 yards. And he averages about 30 yards a game, Justin.
Shock, I'm glad you brought up his running ability because that's what's caught the Falcons' attention.
And he's done a great job of using his legs. I think he's really taken the league by storm with his ability to run and all those type of things. And him finding easy completions and being able to do those things has been something they've done really well, and they're getting better and better at every single week, and that's why they've been so competitive.
What we have in front of us is, we have one game on Sunday that we have to go out there and perform and play well and compete at a high level. And it's the next game. So whatever we have to do to go into this next game and prepare and, just give your teammates just a little bit more and give this team, give this organization just a little bit more so that we don't have to, go through what we did against Sunday. And
as we continue on the opening drive, after the loss in New Orleans, Raheem Morris said his team came out flat. DJ, we've heard that before, so why does this keep happening, and how do you stop it from happening?
Yeah, Justin, that's the kind of big question is you have these ball games where you play so well, and then you find an opportunity where you go into another big game and you come out flat. It's hard to say why it's happening, why it continues to be this way. But the Falcons, it's all about the details. When things don't go good for them early, that's when things start to have the issues and you don't have the outcome you like. So they got to start a little bit faster, but play at a higher level, especially early in ball games. And offensive coordinator Zach Robinson broke down why the offense is taking so long to get started last week.
You go through that first quarter, we had, I don't know how many yards it was. We had 2 drives. One ends on a third down that, those guys connect in their sleep. The other ends on a bad call by me, and you're sitting there and you're like, man, what just happened? And you're down in the game. So we got to make sure that, first and foremost, I'm doing my part to make sure we're in, good positions. And then when we do get opportunities to convert on the third downs, we got to hit those too.
And as we wrap up the opening drive, one of the things that Denver does best is hit the quarterback, DJ. Broncos have almost 4 times as many sacks as the Falcons do.
Yeah, I just got chills thinking about it because obviously hitting the quarterback is something I was used to happening to me. But it's nothing that the Falcons got to do a better job of protecting Kirk because we've seen the last few ball games him getting sacks. This is a team that has 35 sacks, and they have 4 guys with 5 or more sacks on this team. Linebacker Nick Bonito has 7. Linebacker Jonathan Cooper with 6.5. They get after the quarterback. They're physical. They change the line of scrimmage. They do a lot of things up front that confuse an offensive line. The Falcons have to protect Kirk Cousins in this ball game if they have any chance of winning it.
Maybe not household names on that Denver defense,
right,
but they're getting the job done. Well, welcome into Early Birds alongside DJ Shockley. I'm Justin Felder, and Shock, it's going to be an exciting game for Justin Simmons going back to a place in Denver where he made his name in the NFL.
No doubt about it. It always brings back some good memories when you go back to a place you're familiar with, but I know he has changed the page and said, you know what, I'm a Atlanta Falcon now. But he'll have some emotions, especially early in that ball game, playing in the place like you mentioned. He's been there a lot.
Well, Shock, Denver may be a mile above sea level, but your film room still gives better perspective.
I like that. That's
like
cool.
that
I like
one.
that.
All
That's a good
right,
one.
Shock, we'll see you at the Telestrator in just a few. But first, from the Rocky Mountains to a Mountaineer, Ryan Newsel was a standout at Appalachian State, but had to earn his way into the NFL without being drafted. He's been a key contributor as Atlanta's O-line has dealt with some early season injuries. Kelly Price sat down with Newsel earlier this week.
as an offensive line specifically, you guys have had so many injuries you guys have had to kind of work through, but it seems like when one guy steps in, whether it's last minute or not, there's really no drop off from one guy to the next, yourself included. What's kind of behind that? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, just starts obviously in the summer. Bound to happen. Seems like eventually just somebody step up in the role and then just becoming prepared and just taking the reps, taking the mental reps when you're not able to take the physical reps, and then just being ready for whenever your time is.
The path that you've kind of taken, undrafted, smaller school, quote unquote guy. When you reflect on your kind of journey now, you're starting, for this team. What's kind of been the, I guess, formula that's gotten you here?
I would say just hard work. I mean, going into college as well. I played tight end in college and then transitioned to offensive line. And so I redshirted my first year, and then about midway through my redshirt freshman year, kind of some injuries piled up, and that's when I got my first action on offensive line in a real game, and then just finished out the career there at left guard. And then now, I mean, just being undrafted, I mean, still just, I got my foot in the door, and that was all I really needed, just being able to show people work ethic and just stick around, and just being able to just show everyone that I can play football too.
Yeah. With this offensive line group specifically, you guys have done such a good job throughout the season so far. I mean, there's all kinds of PFF statistics and all these rankings and whatever you want to call it, but what do you define as the best statistic or mark of this offensive line? Like, what's something you guys are the most proud of?
It's definitely rushing yards. Rushing yards, less sacks, obviously the big ones, but I mean, at the end of the day, really, the only statistic that matters is being able to get the wins on Sunday. So that's what you're looking forward to the most.
It's time to get some game intel from Shock. You're invited into the film room. So cut the lights and let's get started.
Well, we just heard offensive coordinator Zach Robinson talking about he has to be better on third down. And being better on third down is creating those situations through formation, through motion, that allows his guys to have an opportunity to go win on those third downs. Now, I got a play from the last ball game that he does exactly that. I know they're going to go back to similar these plays, but this is a play that allows them to create an easy catch and first down. So this play started with Mooney outside. With him starting outside, and Drake in the bunch right here, it forces the guy who's guarding Drake to play off coverage. When he plays off coverage, here's what the route they want to run. You want to run this out route right here. Now you got it versus off coverage. This is a perfect call. And now you bring him in motion. Once you bring Mooney in motion, now it forces him to play outside. Now you have all this space on the outside to run this play here. So watch as he comes in motion. Now all three guys are getting vertical too. So now this guy doesn't know, he doesn't know if this guy's going to go deep. He doesn't know if he's going to go a comeback. He doesn't know if he's going to go in cut. So he leaves him on a kind of an island of knowing where do I go to football. But offensive coordinator does a great job, Zach Robinson, of understanding that we want to throw this football outside, and it gives him a chance to throw it with all this space on the outside. Drake does a good job of running vertical on this guy, keeping his stem, doesn't turn too fast, but look at his hips turn. His hips turning this way, there's no way he can turn towards the sideline to make this play on Drake. Drake comes out of it nice and easy. Great completion here. And these are the type of plays on third down by formation, by motion, that Zach Robinson can create. If we can do that, like he said, hey, we got a chance to be really good in this ball game. Plays like that show exactly why.
Thanks, Chuck. They certainly make it look easy, even if we know it is anything but. Well, we got a huge day of college football ahead. The loser between Georgia and Tennessee most likely out of the playoffs. And Michael Jenkins is here to tell you if the rankings committee got it right or wrong. Plus,
you feel the structure of the defense and understanding like the ball possibly can come to me based on the angle I'm going and the structure of the defense.
Darnell Mooney seems to always make the catch even when surrounded by defenders. Mooney will explain when we go deep.
You're watching Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Best, nothing. And sponsored by the Georgia Lottery. Today could be the day. And the Home Depot. How doers get more done. More Early Birds coming back at you. Early Birds. It's not Saturday down south without talking college football. Brought to you by Zaxby's, famous fingers and sauces. Here's Shock.
Well, Justin just talked about it, and here he is, my man Michael Jenkins in the building. What's up, James?
What's going on?
Another great weekend of college football on our hands, and we talked about it every week, man. This season is getting close to the end.
I know, we're almost done.
Interesting stuff going on. We got a couple big games going on today, but let's talk about, before we get into the end of the games, the second edition of the college football rankings came out earlier this week. They revealed, and I mean, look at the top 4, G. Top 4.
All from where?
All out of the Big Ten.
Okay.
All out of the Big Ten. First off, what's your thoughts on the top 4 in those Big 4 teams, obviously being at the top of it, but how many of those you think are going to stay in that 12 by the end of it?
I don't think they're all going to stay there. Obviously, Ohio State, Indiana got to play, so you know things are going to happen there. But kudos to those teams that are there right now. And so the committee's saying, hey, these teams are playing well enough to be ranked this high. I'm sure some SEC fans don't agree.
True.
But things will work itself out in the end.
And Jake, while I got you, I want to ask you about my dogs. We see my dogs on the screen right now. They came in at number 12. Do you think that this was a fair ranking for them, or you think they should have been a little bit lower?
I feel like it's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, they have the hardest schedule in college football, and by them losing a couple of those games, it's obviously hurting them, where vice versa last year, Shock, y'all were 100th in strength of schedule.
Yeah,
you
number
8,
1 now.
9-0, And so for a team, I think the teams like Georgia, Ohio State, they really don't have to play those hard games. As long as they win and win convincingly, they're going to always be in the top 5.
Makes sense, man. I caught up with my man Dan Jackson last Saturday. His mindset was pretty positive going forward.
There's a lot we need to get better on, and that starts with me. That starts with the way I communicate and get guys around me to play, ready to play. And once again, I mean, we just got out competing. As long as I've been here, that's not the Georgia standard. We got Tennessee next week, and that's all we're focused on. And we're going to take it week by week, and we're going to be where we need to be at the end of the year.
Next week is here, and big game today. Big game tonight, matter of fact.
Playoff game tonight.
Playoff game for sure. Vols are in town to take on the Dogs. You got a really good defense for the Tennessee Vols. You got game changer at the running back position in Dylan Sampson. What would it take for the Dogs to get a win, man? Because it sounds like all signs are pointing towards how good Tennessee is.
It is, but for whatever reason, when the back's against the wall with Kirby Smart and his teams, they find a way to win, especially at home. I don't think y'all been at home in like a month.
Been a while.
It's been a while. So, the Dogs have won 28 straight games at home.
Tell them again, Jake.
28 straight games at home. And so I think Kirby knows that he's enjoying being back at home, and I think they get the win tonight.
I love it. I love the way you're talking, Jake. Here's Coach Smart on how the crowd could be a big factor in tonight's game.
You always try to look inwardly when things don't go well, and you try to look at what I can do better and we can do better and not point fingers. And I think that's important in life. I think the crowd's going to play a big factor in this game in terms of inspiring us and also impacting and affecting them, and it's good to be on.
All right, Jake, earlier this week, Kennesaw State relieved their head coach, Brian Bohannon, of his duty as head coach. There was talk of him being fired, and some people said he stepped down.
Right.
Either way, what are your thoughts on his departure? Was it premature, or you think that it was justifiable because of where the program was at the time?
I think, one, it was premature.
Yeah.
I think it was a mess on how it was handled, the firing, who stepped down and whatnot. And, Coach B at Kennesaw State was 63-18 his first seven years in the FCS. I'm sorry. And so when you decide you want to make this jump now to the FBS with the big boys, you got to have things outside that support that. You got to have, well-paid coaches. You got to have facilities. You got to have players. And so it seemed like they didn't have that plan. They just wanted to go up and play against the big boys and be like a James Madison or Jacksonville State that's made the jump. But they've got really nice facilities. They've done extremely well with their programs, and it just seems like Kennesaw State didn't have that plan in place. So I think it was unfair for what they did.
Get that man a little time, man.
You gotta give him time.
They got to recruit a little bit more. Like, come on, it's crazy, but I know Coach Bohannon will be just fine.
He'll be fine.
We appreciate the insight today, man. Next 2 weeks gonna be big for your Buckeyes. So
yes, it is.
Can't wait to talk about that next week. They got taken on Northwestern today. Next week, Indiana though. Any nerves? Next week.
Not this week. We're playing Wrigley Field. So.
All right, Justin. Hey man, big one with you and your guys at LSU. Lagway back. I mean, you feeling good about your Gators at LSU? Come on.
Well, Shock, if my math is right, I don't know all the tiebreaker math, but would a Florida win help Georgia with their narrow path to SEC?
Take it.
So could I get a go Gators shot? Because it could help your
My
dogs.
IB going out. I can't hear. It's going out.
I'll catch you later for that. We'll see. I'll feel better our flag wave plays. Appreciate it, guys. Well, Darnell Mooney is not the Falcons' biggest wide receiver, but he plays like a giant when in a crowd. Mooney has shown a knack for contested catches this season. So often he's the guy that Kirk Cousins is looking for on key third downs. He says those moments take mindset and preparation. Mooney explains in this week's Going Deep.
How do you actually pull in something when you're in traffic in a crowd like that?
You just do some distraction drills and something to, like if I'm catching the jugs, I have like Jesse or somebody just pulling and tugging on me and, while I'm still trying to catch the ball. So therefore, like, if there has to be a contested catch, like I'm comfortable like somebody touching me or grabbing me. You feel the structure of the defense and understanding like the ball possibly can come to me based on the angle I'm going and the structure of the defense, and muscle memory and just trusting it and having that discipline to continue to understand. Eventually, this play will come up and I'll be ready when it comes up. So.
Very cool insight. Well, the Falcons rookie class does more than just on the field or in the classroom. We'll serve up some Thanksgiving goodness later in Early Birds.
Going Deep is brought to you by Zaxby's, famous fingers and sauces. We're getting your Saturday started right. Early Birds is back in a moment.
Welcome back to Early Birds. Well, as Falcons players work their way back from injury, they don't have to walk far for quality care. Their medical partners have a location right next to the team's facility in Flowery Branch, and that's the focus of this week's Emory Road to Recovery.
This beautiful, beautiful building with Emory is awesome to have with the organization for many reasons. One, we're able to have our physicians staffed here to be accessible to the team and to everybody in that building whenever they need to be. We have the most advanced imaging here, from MRI and X-ray, and we have ultrasound, and we can perform procedures here that are non-surgical procedures that we may need to do. So we really can do almost anything and everything at this facility, which is amazing that you can just walk, 50 yards next door. And then we have our physical therapy here. We have our Spark, our research center, where we can perform biomechanical analysis, and we can use data that we learn here from other athletes and apply that to how we take care of our Falcons players, or what we utilize in strength and conditioning or physical therapy modalities and treatment options. And so the cohesion between both Emory and the Atlanta Falcons is a beautiful thing. And so having this building right here is a godsend.
Well, with Thanksgiving right around the corner, Falcons players made sure people in our community had a hot meal to enjoy. We'll show you that story coming up after the break.
You're watching Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz, on your official home for Falcons football, Fox 5 Atlanta. Early Birds has been presented to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
I mean, it just means different, because we're taking time out of our day to serve everybody here, and just to see the smile we put on their faces, like the kids and everybody, and that touches my heart deeply, because I got a kid too, so I know what it means to have like older guys, like football players, to do that for you, and it means a lot.
Well, this past week on Tuesday, Falcons rookies visited Crossroads Community Ministries. They're helping pack lunches, and DJ serving guests a Thanksgiving Day meal. All the rookies doing it together, especially important with the holidays coming up.
It is, and I think it gives those guys some perspective. Obviously, this is their first year. They're rookies. They're going through a lot of different changes within the National Football League, but then there's also other things going on outside the world, and this opportunity gives them guys a chance to, put things in perspective and say, hey, there are a lot of people out there who would love to have this opportunity for us to give back, and I'm glad they were there to be able to do it.
Yeah, volunteers from Norfolk Southern there helping out the rookies as well. All right, Falcons and Broncos tomorrow, late start, 4 o'clock start. As they head out west, and it's going to be at altitude.
Yeah.
Big difference. Is it a factor? Do we make too much of it?
I think it is a little bit of a factor. I've talked to guys who actually played it. I've never played in it, but I've heard guys talk about how different it is when you're breathing. You have to slow your breathing down a lot more than you would when you're not playing altitude, of course. So this should be an interesting thing. Hopefully those guys are prepared for it.
I'm going to bring some oxygen up to the press box. I got to climb all those steps. That's going to wear me out. No, I'll get ready. Shock, appreciate Falcons and Broncos tomorrow. That's it for us here on Early Birds. For DJ Shockley, I'm Justin Felder. Thank you for joining us. Have a good morning and a great rest of your weekend.